Us and welcome to Vasili's Garden, folks. Yes, it is winter, so we thought we'd come out and see my good friend here, Craig. How are you, mate?
Good, mate, and you?
Very well, very well. It is winter and everybody wants to get out in the garden, but they're a bit shy and scared because it's so cold. But I thought you can be a bit of an inspiration for us. Talk to us all about what we can do in the garden during winter time, because there's a lot to be done, isn't it?
Certainly is.
Yeah.
It's a busy time of the year. I mean, we're only weeks away from spring, believe it or not. We might be shivering, but
I know, that's
there's
so
lots
true.
to be done.
Yeah, and as you said that, I spotted tomato plants, but we'll go there later on. It is winter, but you're still growing them.
Yep.
So we're going to go through a range of products and things to do in the garden, in and around the garden. Citrus trees, fruit trees, repotting, and maybe a little bit of fertilising.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything
we'll
else?
talk about some wicking beds.
Wicking beds,
some habitat planting.
Yep.
And how we can attract in some beneficials.
Sounds great.
And we might look at a bit of companion planting as well.
And one more thing, the most important one?
Oh, the food.
That's it.
The food. Yes.
How can you forget that? Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Where are we going to start?
Might as well do the citrus.
Let's go.
While we're here. Or do you want to do the wicking beds?
Oh, bugger, let's just start here. We love having a veggie garden, whether it's on the ground or a raised garden bed.
Yep.
The one step better than having just a raised garden bed would have to be a wicking bed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, so we've got this box.
Okay.
It's an old, well, they're new apple crates, as a matter of fact. We've had them halved.
Yep.
And we've put a bladder into the bottom of them. And that gets then filled up with about 20 mil scoria, which is the red stone, until about 300 millimetres from the top.
Okay.
We put a pot in the end of it so that you can fill the reservoir on the bottom, because that's what we're looking to do. We're trying to create a self-watering pot on a large scale, obviously.
Do you put an aggie pipe as well?
No. Now, the reservoir could be 6 feet deep.
Yeah, if you want it to be.
Provided the soil's no more than 300 mil. And there's an overflow pipe that gets put in, which we have on the end of this box.
That's at the same level as the...
As where the geotextile fabric, so where the stone stops and the soil starts.
Yep.
And that happens for a very good reason. If it was to rain, God forbid, for 40 days and 40 nights, it would wash all of your soil out.
Well, wherever
the overflow, yes, but the overflow pipe allows the water out.
Yeah.
And it actually also tells you when you poke the hose down the filling pipe that it's full when it runs out the water pipe.
That's a good way of controlling it.
Then, of course, you need some really, really good potting mix.
Okay.
Don't be tempted to fill it up with your soil. Okay, a bit of compost, but...
You're referring to people's backyard soil?
Yes, absolutely. You don't want to be filling it up with your garden soil because it will compact and it won't work well for you. So, and of course, you'll plant your seedlings. So I haven't watered this since I put this in.
Okay.
And we've actually got a brassica over here in the garden bed that was put in at the same time
as this
out of the same punnet as this.
So that's the same age as this?
Yeah, so I water that one.
Obviously your garden bed's not being looked after really well.
Well, obviously not. But I mean, this I guess is why these work so well, because the plants are able to take up the water they need it rather than when we think they need it.
Yeah, okay.
And look at the difference. Now, I don't water these. I haven't watered these since, other than for the first week or so when you put the young seedlings in.
You've got to hydrate the ground?
Absolutely. You've got to make sure that they get watered each day until the wicking effect starts.
And you also got the mulch on top.
And absolutely, you've got to have mulch. You can put casters on these. You can push them around and chase the sun, or get them out of the frost if you wanted to, and of course wheel them out onto a balcony. The other thing too is that they don't necessarily need to be a box like this. They could be a bed in the ground.
Yeah, they could be anything.
They could be a pot.
They could be a bathtub.
Yep, exactly right. Exactly
right. And we want to talk about the lemon tree mainly because a lot of people want to grow a lemon tree at home, whether it's in the front yard, backyard, or on the nature strip, but they always seem to be full of problems.
Yep.
Citrus gall wasp, citrus leaf miner, scale,
now this one,
this one's come along.
Citrus bud mite.
Okay, and explain to us what that is.
What happens is that the mite actually attacks the buds of the flower, so it's no good spraying when it's in flower or after it's flowered. You've got to get it at the bud stage.
Yeah, before it actually opens?
Yeah, exactly. So it's too late afterwards.
Yeah. All right.
And to control that, you really need to use either an insecticidal soap.
Yeah.
And of course your remedy with the chili, garlic.
Oil soap.
Oil soap,
And that's all the stuff you can get from your kitchen pantry, a teaspoon of each in a litre of water. Spray that on the buds before they burst.
Absolutely. And what happens is you don't get it, obviously, this doesn't look like a lemon. I mean, it sort of starts to claw like a Buddha's hand, if you've ever seen that. This, of course, is...
the other problem.
That's citrus leaf miner.
This is a northern hemisphere insect.
Yep.
It's migrated down to our beautiful climate down here and adapted to the cooler weather.
Yep.
And it's still prevalent this time of year.
Yeah.
Normally around 18, 20 degrees
Yep.
Celsius
Yep.
is when you'd see this in action, but it's actually still moving around in the heart of wintertime. That's really concerning.
Yeah, it is. It is, and it's rife generally in a lot of the new growth. And we get lots of frost here in Werribee, so I won't be pruning too much of this off because the first thing that happens on a citrus tree is it bursts into growth when you prune them.
And you're attracting the insect again.
Absolutely.
So you
and
bug
of course
it.
you open it up to frost.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put your sprayer to the.
You got my easy hand sprayer?
I absolutely have. They're fantastic.
You haven't been using it enough, mate.
No, well, obviously not. But it needs a bit of a workout at the moment. So and it has the up and down spray. They're fantastic.
Well,
so,
I want to see you in action on it.
All right, no worries. Okay.
I'm going to hold you to it now.
Okay, all right.
Well, what are you doing? Aren't you going to go get it?
No.
If you like Vasili's Garden, then you'll love the winter edition of Vasili's Garden to Kitchen magazine. Available at all good news agencies. Subscribe now at vasilisgarden.com.
Hello folks, well what about when you're generally debilitated? You've been quite sick and you're moving into convalescence, or you are continuing to be debilitated, as well as you have an upset digestive system because you've been so sick. Chamomile tea is a very common preparation, and most people think about chamomile tea for sleep. Well, first of all, we must make sure that when we're making our tea, we make it the right way. But chamomile is a much more powerful product than sort of that relaxing, settling. For the general debility that people will go through or into convalescence, chamomile tea is a wonderful product. So filling up the inside of the infusion cup with chamomile flower heads, and they're dried flower heads, and popping it in, and then getting about this amount of orange peel. So just about 4 little pieces like that, not a lot of pith because it will be bitter, and then simply finely slice just to be able to break it down, and it will work to be able to draw out some of the healing constituents from this peel. Pop it in to our little infusion top there. Now pour boiling water over that, but do it slowly because it has to filter through all these little holes. Then you put the lid on and just holding the lid there for about 15 minutes to draw and steep. This is a lovely tonic just to be soothing and settling the body, but assists you to get back into revival mode. And again, this is what is so wonderful about the herbs that we're actually dealing with. They're powerful, they're gentle and effective. That combination is a really interesting one. So folks, until next time, find happiness in every moment and get into this chamomile tea that's got the orange peel if you need a tonic and you need a bit of a lift.
Now, while we're in this bed,
What are you holding in your hand there,
that's
mate?
called a girdling tool.
Okay.
So the term girdling relates to ring barking, really.
Yeah.
And of course, ring barking generally, if it's done right the way around a tree, it cuts off the supply of nutrient and water to the top part of the tree, and hence it kills it. That's why ring barking's, not a good thing.
Yeah.
But if you stagger the cut and separate it by about 1/2 to an inch, and only go around about halfway or a bit more.
2 cuts?
2 cuts, one lower and one higher, overlapped.
That's what
the
you've
camera
done
can
here.
see there, that's right.
So what tree are we looking at here?
This is a cherimoya, and that's generally a tropical or subtropical plant. It's a custard apple. And I'm having trouble trying to control its vigour, and also it's not fruiting. So this actually threatens it with death. So what actually happens now is that the sap flow comes up, it can't get through there, so it has to wander around and go in between here and then supply the rest of the tree. So it basically helps to dwarf the tree, slows it down, and it basically, causes the tree to generally bud up and fruit.
It puts it into a little bit of shock.
Yep.
Okay, so that it actually thinks it's going to die, slows the sap flow,
Yep.
it may push on some buds, flower for you.
Yep.
How old's the tree?
This is about 5 years old.
And that tool was made specifically for this purpose?
Yep, absolutely. Razor sharp. That little hook there obviously cups your hand so that you get a good control grip.
You've done it here, like that. That's one spot there.
Yep, correct. And then I'll come around the other side and
done the other side there.
You've got to overlap them. Don't go all the way around because you'll ring bark the tree. So you only stop and start about half a way round and you overlap those cuts.
Yeah, and that's where the sap flow stops and it has to go around
Exactly,
the bed.
so the sap flow has to come up and then it has to go around between the cuts and then supply the rest of the tree.
Crazy. This is practiced out in the wild, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Look, and it's an age-old thing that I think a lot of people have forgotten how to do or don't even know about.
No, you don't need a knife like that.
No, you can use
a kitchen knife or a Stanley knife, but doing carefully because they're very sharp.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so hopefully this will fruit for you in the next year.
Well, I've done it on an apple out the front and an apple up the back here because I'm sick and tired of pruning it.
How about putting some black grit on?
Oh, absolutely. We'll be doing that today, I can assure you.
Don't worry. Well, good luck with that one there.
No worries.
Let me know once it starts flowering and fruiting if it's worked, eh?
Will do. No worries.
The best way to look after your plants is with Vasili's Easy Hand Spray. Order your sprayer now, available only at vasilisgarden.com.
Smoothies aren't just about having something that gives you a feel-good sensation. Well, at least my smoothies aren't. They not only taste great, they really do help your body inside and out by nurturing your immune system, revitalise your energy levels and strengthen your physical well-being, as well as to help curb those hunger cravings and pains too. Today's smoothie ingredients include 5 tablespoons of cooked red quinoa. Quinoa flakes are a great gluten and wheat-free option and are full of calcium and magnesium, which help to keep you feeling full longer. Next, I have half a teaspoon of ground turmeric, which contains a component known as curcumin, which work together to give you the anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties that will help reduce inflammation and keep your immune system strong and healthy. I'm also adding half a teaspoon of coconut oil. It is highly resistant to oxidation, unlike many other oils which oxidize and create free radicals. Coconut oil is 90% saturated fatty acids. It helps with digestive disorders like irritable bowel syndrome and contains antimicrobial properties that have a soothing effect on bacteria. I'm also adding a pinch of black pepper, 1 banana, and 1 cup of almond milk. Kuving's SV500 vacuum blender has the latest vacuum technology that detects the amount of air and removes it from the container. So what are the benefits? Well, you end up with a super smooth beverage with brighter colours and no separation of ingredients. The SV500 has an ultra-high strength 3D stainless steel blade and a whopping 3.5 horsepower motor, able to pulverise any ingredient you add. Wow, this makes a great breakfast smoothie. For more wonderful recipes just like this one, visit our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. See you next time. Enjoy.
Being the heart of winter, lots of plants go dormant. Fruit trees, in fact.
Yep.
As do some of our vegetables and fruit.
Certainly strawberries, and they're one of those things, if you don't attend to them now, you're going to have a pretty ordinary start to late spring. But it is time now to pull them out. So these half pots are a great thing on the fence.
This is what you've got. You put them on the wall there, and they produce pretty well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Winter, once they start to dry out like this, it's time to pull them out. And
a lot of people would just actually remove all the dry leaves. Is that enough? That's not enough.
No. So let's show you what we're going to do. We're going to pull this apart.
Whoa! You're destroying the plant, mate.
Yeah, well, look out.
What are you doing there?
So we want to sort of break this down into individual plants if we possibly can.
Yeah, with roots or without roots?
Oh no, with roots.
Yeah, okay, that's enough.
So take about 2/3 of the roots off. See, look, there's 2 plants. So here we go. That's what we're looking for.
That's it. Beautiful. The purpose of this?
Well, propagation pretty well. That's your new plant.
Well, there you go. That'll produce better for you than that old matted one.
Absolutely. Get a good quality potting mix.
So I'm going to get you to mix some charcoal into that as well. Have a look at that. Sweeten up the soil. There you go. That's it. Nice.
Wonderful stuff.
Now, the other thing I brought along is my black grit.
Yep.
Now, this is the calcium nitrate. This is the one that's going to actually make it fruit like there's no tomorrow. Endless amount of fruit. Sprinkle a little bit of this on there. Yep. A pinch of that. It's about 50 grams per square metre is all you need of this stuff. Yeah, and it'll last. It doesn't dissolve. It actually clings itself onto the root zone and helps the plant draw up all those micronutrients.
That's all we need, folks. Now,
That's it.
even though it's in a pot, it still needs mulch.
Oh, yeah.
So,
All right, here we go. So you use different types of mulch. I brought
do.
you some bamboo mulch. You
Yep.
haven't tried it
No,
before,
I
have
haven't.
you?
No, I haven't.
All right. Well, this is the go. Okay, the bamboo mulch will last you 3 to 4 times longer than any other mulch you use in the garden. It'll mat down beautifully, and it will keep the moisture in, the heat in, the cold out, and everything it's meant to do as a proper mulch.
wonderful thing. So
There you go.
that's now going to keep that soil reasonably moist. It's going to stop the wind from whipping across, dehydrating it. Whilst we're not getting a lot of sun at the moment, that still will, on a sunny day, still dry these pots out. And I guarantee early spring we'll be picking strawberries.
Well, I want you to mark this one with the grit and the charcoal.
Mate, I'm going to be doing them all. With, so,
All right.
But I'll be able to compare photos I took last year for the ones coming.
All right.
So yeah.
Let's see with the stuff
So
on
there
it,
you
yeah.
go. So if you've got them in the ground, do this also. Don't leave them in, because what will happen, as you saw, you'll get a big matted root system in the ground, and they won't produce like they should. Yep.
So we get all these ones done. One little big plant like that becomes many little ones.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
if you've got too many at the end of the day, give it to your neighbours.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
your
it.
cameraman. You'll catch. There you go. He's happy.
No worries.
Maresi.
Healthy Habit Smoothies book is now available at all QBD bookstores or online at vasilisgarden.com.
If you're looking to plant an orchard in your backyard, well, you can't go past Craig's method here. He's literally got his own orchard in a typical suburban block,
500 square metres.
500 square metres in actual fact, and it's not all planted out because you've got a house on here too, haven't
Yeah,
you?
well, yeah.
So you've got to live here.
It's only a small garden facility.
Yeah,
It really
it's-
is.
Yeah, you're about a quarter of the property is your garden.
Roughly.
Yeah, so 120 squares, and part of that's a decking and pathways and all that.
yeah.
But you still manage to grow how many varieties?
Well, I've got 26 varieties of apple in 4 fruit trees.
In 4 fruit trees.
So this one has 10 varieties on it.
Okay, not 2 or 3 as you can get in your local garden centre nursery. 10.
Yeah.
You can't buy those like that.
No, you've got to graft them.
You've grafted along the sides.
Yep, exactly.
Yep,
So
I
we
just
put in
take-
an approach graft into each of these.
Okay.
And they're all different varieties. And the beauty of this is that you can start and extend your picking times by selecting early, mid and late varieties.
Yeah.
And all
Ripening.
the varieties that you like. So a normal apple tree would produce you something like about 300 apples.
Yeah.
All at once.
Yeah.
What do you do with them?
Oh,
All right, so this will give you about 25 apples per branch,
Yeah.
spread out, and I just picked the last couple of Granny Smiths last week.
Yeah.
And I picked the first one, which is Arcane,
okay.
around about end of January.
Yeah. January all the way to July.
Yeah.
6 months, 7 months
That's
we're
it.
talking. That's crazy.
And I've got one out the front that's got a Christmas apple on it, and that gives you an apple in December. So we're eating apples fresh from home from December all the way through to July.
Yeah, and ready for the next season
Yeah.
a couple of months later.
Yeah.
Now, for those who want to learn how to graft or want to graft their own, you've got a grafting
We have
season
too. Look,
coming up.
yeah, down at the Werribee Park Heritage Orchard on the 29th of July.
Yeah.
It starts at 10 o'clock. It's a free event. Get along. We'll show you how to graft. We've got demonstrations of that, tours of the orchard, and we have all sorts of other things going on as well. You can come down there and buy these wonderful old heritage varieties and get some great advice from experts down there. So,
One other thing you want to show us is how to force a tree like this
Yep.
to push a bud up.
yep, okay. So you've got to understand what is a bud, and they're buds, and what is a fruit spur. And these are fruit spurs. These look like fat, fluffy little buds. They quite often look, as Vasili often says, the back end of a spider, and that's
right.
exactly what they look like. So each of these are a fruit spur, and if you leave them on the tree for the life of the tree, they will continually fruit from those points each year.
That will not become a branch.
No,
it'll
never.
always produce a fruit.
Only ever fruit. But if you prune those off, then you've pruned your fruit off. So it's very important you understand what is a fruit spur.
Okay.
Now, you get a lot of that long vertical wispy growth in the summer months. And as you can see here, what I've done is I've actually pruned the bud above. So I've counted up about 4 buds. And that bud I've actually cut underneath the bud. I've undercut the bud.
So you've cut, so let's just use this as an example,
Yeah.
right? We're not going to cut this,
No.
but rather than cutting just above as you have here,
Yeah.
you've undercut, so you cut just below that
Correct,
bud.
correct.
So you're further away
Yeah.
from the bud
Yeah.
below.
So what happens is that the buds are the things that cause the sap to flow throughout the branch. The rest of the branch is just really a conduit for ferrying nutrient and water. So what happens is that once you've undercut this bud, the bud is not strong enough to draw the water up here and to heal that cut. So that then starts to die back. And in the plant kingdom, if you threaten anything with a little bit of dieback, the first thing it does in its instinct is to flower. Hence it sets a fruit spur.
Yes.
And then in the winter months, like now, then you're starting to look on your trees for the dead, diseased and damaged things that you should be taking off. Don't prune once they're up fence height. But that's the way to be able to produce a fruit spur.
So Werribee Park Heritage Orchard.
Yep.
Werribee Park Major, 29th of July.
Yep.
It's on a Sunday.
Yep.
What
10
time?
o'clock.
10 o'clock till
3 o'clock.
There you are. Come down, say hello, meet Craig, show you how to graft,
Yep.
and get yourself some nice varieties to take home.
Yep.
Well, apart from all the wonderful knowledge you shared with us now in the garden, mate, you do some more in the kitchen as well.
Absolutely. We run classes teaching people how to make cheeses. I make about 40 different cheeses.
These are samples of them.
They are, yeah. So truffled brie.
You gave me a taste of that. I wasn't quite sure about the flavour of it. Could I have another bit?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
That was to die for, mate.
Yeah.
Now, this is truffle what?
Truffle brie. So it's actually got truffles from Western Australia, sliced on a truffle shaver. In the process of putting the brie together, halfway through we put a layer of truffle in there, and then obviously that's about 4 weeks old now.
Like this
So
here.
it's perfect, yeah. So, and we've got a Stilton here, that's a blue vein. In fact, we'll cut that open while we're talking and we'll have a bit
So
of a
you're
look
making
and see.
blue vein too?
Yeah, this is about 3 months old, this Stilton cheese. And I've got to say that, there you go.
That is beautiful. See, it tastes as good as it looks.
Oh, I reckon you might. I reckon it might be okay, Vasili.
That is to die for. Give me some more. For all that great information that you shared with us today, mate,
Yep.
and much, much more, we can find it in this book of yours.
Yes, certainly. Edible Gardens, a practical guide. You can get it on vasilisgarden.com or craigcastry.com.au.
You got any grafting tips in there?
Absolutely. There's it's a practical guide to anything edible, mate. So
That's it.
put an orchard in your own backyard, wicking beds, keeping chickens, beekeeping,
If you
companion planting, you name
If
it,
you
it's
can
got
eat
it.
it, it's in there.
That's it. Yeah.
Baresi.